Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. And in an age where there's been a lot of claptrap lately about what sort of content will count as children's content and as not children's content here on YouTube, we have something like this. And initially one might think that, hey, a Cyberverse figure? That's probably for kids, but not this time around, because this is actually more geared and directed toward A, those people who are going to spend their hard-earned money to buy this, and B, those who are probably going to be tasked, and I'm talking to you, parents, guardians, and grandparents, who are going to be tasked with helping the younger folk learn how to manipulate and transform this thing. In other words, is Ultimate Cyberverse Optimus Prime really ultimate? Well, there's probably a lesson here about marketing, and we're going to dive into it all in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. I really appreciate you coming by today. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you are at it, that's right, man, hit that notification bell because it lets you know when content of all kinds goes up here on the channel. Most recently, we just had GotBot Goes Live. We just had a couple of reviews leading up to review 600, which was pretty epic. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And very recently, just last Friday, we had the premiere of episode 5 of season 2 of Universal Collision. So there's a lot going on here on the channel. A lot more to come, man. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers, Collectors, NL, the Autobot family, and have a look for me everywhere across social media. And this is the Cyberverse Ultimate Optimus Prime. And I made the distinction at the beginning of this review to note that this isn't really for kids. It's more for the adults associated with kids because I don't think many collectors, and I could be wrong, by all means, hey man, let me know if I'm incorrect, but I don't think a lot of collectors have been into the Cyberverse line. I think generally it is seen as a line that's for kids. And I've spoke about it before because I looked at the Ultimate Megatron here on the channel a while ago, an episode I think was 496, I want to say, and there was a long story leading to him. But I said then that I thought that there was a very specific market for these. They're not for kids young enough for rescue bots. They're not really for collectors who are adults or young adults. They're for that age group that's too old for rescue bots, but not quite old enough yet for something like the Generations or Siege line. This is like a little bit of a go-between, but is it an effective go-between? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Nevertheless, this guy, just like with Megatron, has been given the moniker of Ultimate. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm always extremely leery of marketing and of companies because, let's be realistic, they don't have our best interests at heart. They have their profit margins at heart. It is what it is, man. Just how ultimate is this guy? I did state in the Megatron review that I believe that Optimus is indeed more ultimate, much more ultimate than Megatron. Was I right? Was I wrong? Well, we're gonna head over to the table and find out. And while I'm not a big Cyberverse guy, although I did like the Warrior class I have been looking at a few of the Ultimate class figures. I kind of fell into Megatron. I've already explained how that came about a long time ago because I was looking for a wheel for punch counterpunch, and I looked at that Megatron episode 496, and since then I know that he has become beloved by a 6-year-old, and I'm happy for that because every toy deserves to have a fan, even if it's not the greatest toy. Although I did admittedly say there that there's a very specific type of fan that will appreciate the Ultimate Class Megatron, and most recently I looked at the Ultimate Class Bumblebee, and I believe the same is true there. It is for the type of, I'm going to say child, because I don't think these really appeal to collectors. They might for a few, but I think largely it's intended for that market segment that falls between experienced child, adult, collector, and like young child just being introduced via something like Rescue Bots. This is for the kid that's outgrown Rescue Bots, but they're not quite as advanced yet as something like the Generations line, or certainly Studio Series, something like that. This is like a simplified version. And whether or not it's effective, well, I guess that's up in the air. The Megatron, overall, I said, was about a 6.5. There were good and bad things. Perhaps the most glaring omission for him is no elbow joint. Like, that's definitely his biggest problem. With Bumblebee, I said basically he was about a 6.75. A little bit better than Megatron, but the main issue with him is that during the conversion, there's a spring-loaded section that I don't know how many kids are going to be able to hold it in position, if they can even get it into position, because I had to use really more force than I felt like I should for something that's aimed at that younger market, or I think it's aimed for that younger market. I also tried to be informative here because I really feel like that while some collectors will certainly look at this review, I feel like for the most part, this is going to be for those parents and grandparents, God love you guys, that are trying to determine whether or not you should get this for your granddaughter, grandson, daughter, son, whatever, because they asked for it. Is this worth it? In Canada, this retails for $40, the price of a Siege Voyager. It is the size of a traditional leader class figure. Let me just give you an example before we look at the box. So here's basically what I'm talking about. Closest to me right here is the Power of the Prime's leader class Optimus Prime. In the middle we have our Cyberverse Optimus that we're looking at now, the Ultimate Optimus. And on the far side, we have the Siege Voyager class Optimus Prime. And the lad in the middle comes in at the price point of the Siege one, even though the Siege one is much smaller, while being about the size, if not a little bit taller, than the Power of the Primes one. However, the Ultimate Optimus Prime is significantly lighter. The plastic is definitely thinner. Also, since I didn't do it, here we have Ultimate Class Bumblebee, and the same sort of criticism could be levied against him. Though he is quite large, he is somewhat hollow and the plastic is kind of thin, but maybe having that extra flex for something aimed at a younger audience isn't a bad thing, because hopefully the plastic can flex before it ever breaks. Hey, you want an idea of what you're looking for packaging wise? Well, this is what you're looking for, and this is an Ultimate Class Action Attacker. This is, of course, Optimus Prime. We have Prime, Windblade, and Bumblebee on this side. On this side, we have a nice image of Optimus Prime from the program. And, of course, we have, on the back, the product images, as we always do. And you can see up here, he has, like, the Matrix, I don't know, something shot. What's it called? The Matrix Mega Shot. There you go. Oh, it's all written up there. Matrix Mega Shot. I find that more of a nuisance than anything else. You'll see what I mean when we get to the figure, but before that we have one other thing to consider, and that is the instructions. They're not very good. I would throw these away. They're not nearly as good as the Siege ones. I'm going to show you what you need to know. And we have the beloved Autobot leader himself, Optimus Prime here, and this is the Ultimate Class version. Don't be confused, there is a version that looks similar to this. It is the same size. It is like Spark Armor Optimus, and he comes with like all this yellow armor that makes up the Ark that goes on him. And the Ark, of course, is the ship that the Autobots used when they came to Earth. And a lot of people would be tempted to get that because they'd say, well, okay, he's more expensive, but he comes with this armor that goes on him. Plus, it's my opportunity to have the Autobot Ark, which is cool. But is the figure itself as good as this guy? And just how good is this guy? Well, when we talk about animation accuracy, this certainly is Optimus Prime. Nobody is going to doubt that at all, I don't think. When we compare it to the Cyberverse animation, that Optimus Prime actually should, up here on the bicep, have gray. On the side of the body here, there should be some, a little bit of black and then the white line. The wipers shouldn't be red, they should be black. He has like a slightly different color on his faceplate, and he sort of has black eyebrows, though that being said, I wish they went with this head sculpt in the cartoon because this looks fantastic. I'll show it closer in a few minutes. His hips here that are red, they really should be black with, I guess, like energon wires. His lower pelvis here should be blue. And I think that might be about it. I think the rest of it is pretty accurate. Red down here on his toe for a light. Besides that, pretty accurate. It's alright. This is definitely Optimus Prime. It's an 8.5 for animation accuracy. For an Optimus Prime, it's a 10, no doubt. But for animation accuracy to the Cyberverse cartoon, it's about an 8.5. Speaking of that head sculpt, before we go on. Honestly, despite it even being stylized, this is one of my favorite Optimus Prime head sculpts that I've seen in a long time. I would say 8.5 is not a bad start. What about functionality for the guy? Well, the very first thing to note is that he has the matrix shot thing, and you do it by, there's a little section here on the side of his head and you push it down and it makes this come out, and then behind this arm over here there's a little wheel and you turn the wheel and it spins that thing on his chest. The problem is that pressing this button over here by accident is far too easy, and this thing always comes out. I have yet to successfully do the transformation either to truck or back and be able to say that this doesn't pop out. It always does. Always. I'm going to show you where the button is. The button that I always accidentally press is right there. You're going to want to be careful not to press down on the section next to his head. And in truck mode, there's actually a section that I would shave if this was mine, just so it doesn't hit that button. Now I know what you're gonna say. GotBot, is it really a big deal? Come on, it's not a big deal. You can just flip it back. Well, as you begin to flip it back, you may notice that there's a little tiny plastic protrusion sticking out there. So as you begin to flip this back, you need to press down on the button so that that protrusion goes in. You flip this all the way back. You need to hold it there and then let out on that button. If you're lucky, it will catch and lock. But more often than not, it won't catch and lock and will flip back out. It's a nuisance. I do not like it one bit. If this was mine, I would somehow deactivate that and just never ever use it. But this isn't mine, so I'm not going to do that. What about the articulation for the guy? Well, the head goes left and right. You can't really look up or down. Well, I suppose it can look up if you want to like lift this whole piece up. It doesn't lock in, it just rests there. The arms, they can actually go not quite all the way around, but you have a good range of motion on them. There's a butterfly joint because of transformation. We have an elbow to 90 degrees. We have a bicep swivel, which is all good. The arms can go out. By the way, that elbow is a ratcheted elbow. I love it. The arms go all the way out, which is great. No waist on this guy like Bumblebee had. The lower legs can go forward. I would also shave right here so I could get more forward motion if this was mine. But they do go forward and they do go back a little bit. We do have a knee, deep knee. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we even have a thigh swivel. Honestly, the articulation's pretty good. Now, here's the thing. If you get the version that has the arc armor that goes on him, apparently, and I can't speak for sure on this, but my understanding is that that does not have any lower leg articulation. That is basically a brick from the waist down. That's my understanding. So, I don't know. Beware, I suppose. If articulation doesn't matter to you, then whatever. All that being said, the articulation on this guy is pretty good. It has all of the cardinal points. I'm going to say the articulation on him, honestly, 8.5. I think it's pretty good. It could use with a waist. That'd be nice. It could use without having the gimmick. That'd be nice. Besides that, it's not bad. There's a little room for improvement here and there, but it's pretty good. So far, Optimus is getting an 8.5 overall. Not bad. Not bad at all, man. Out of package, by the way, this whole backpack piece is not attached. You just friction it on over this section here and bring it up. When you bring it up, there's two little tabs right here that go over here and here. And tab and hold this whole thing in place. You can even hold this back out of the way to help you guide the backpack in to lock it in. And once it's locked in, it's quite secure actually. So what about the transformation? Well, it's not bad, except I know that for me, I'm going to pop that matrix nonsense garbage out. I'm sure I am. And I'll show you why I'll pop it out actually. So we begin by picking the back off. And that back, if you will recall, I pointed out two little sections here that lock it up into position. This little section over on this side is exactly what pushes down on that button. It drives me bonkers, man. I do not like it. We take the whole head and flip it back. By the way, as I start to lift this up, you will notice that we have two little rectangular sections here. This rectangular section here is the one that's over the button. So this rectangular section here is the one you want to avoid pushing down if you do not want the Matrix Mega Shot to fire, I guess. Take the arms, bend them up at the elbow. Extend the body. There's a hinge here. And you're going to want to pull it back, and then you'll see the hinge in here, and pull it up. So it's up, it's back and up. That's the movement you're doing. Once that's done, you can bring back this arm and bring forward the lower arm. And when you bring it forward, there's a little rounded peg there that'll go into this peg right here and hold it in place, or it should hold it in place. Same on the other side. We bring the shoulder back, we bring the arm out, and we push these in. And there's the front of your truck, really. The whole thing now, because we have it extended down here, will flip back. The whole thing will flip back, and now this whole top of the truck should flip over and be able to lock into position. I would, honestly, not necessarily worry about the top lights locking into position, because that's what will set all of this off. We bring this over, and it's a bit of a nuisance to line it up. I'm not going to pretend it's not. Until you're used to doing it, it's a nuisance. That's what I would say. There. Ooh. Ooh. I did it without popping the thing out. I think maybe the trick is to hold the front and really push this as far forward as you possibly can. Okay. All right, man, we're in business. Then we come to the legs and we flip out this little red piece, and this little red piece, that's for the feet. We just bend up the knee, and we'll do the same on the other side. We just bend up the knee. The legs have pegs and tabs down there. We just peg and tab them together. And then we can lay this down, and I'm going to reorient things to finish us off. And we're almost there. We have this red tab that has to come out. There's a little like slot in right there, and a little rectangular tab on either side that locks in over right there. And then up here on his arm, we take this piece and we flip it out, and same on the other side. We take that piece and we flip it out. And as we flip it out, you will notice that we have a little like rectangular tab right there that goes to a little slot down right there on that corner. Lining it up can be a slight nuisance, but once you got it in position, it tabs in pretty nicely. And once you double check everything you've tabbed in, boom, here we have Optimus Prime in his truck mode. I do wish that the molded in windows on the side here were painted in, because as it looks like he doesn't have any windows on the side of his truck. Again, if you actually want to, it's a bit of a bubble truck, like it's a weird looking truck, I'll admit that. But if you want to deploy that Matrix Mega Shot push down on this piece right here, it'll pop it out. I'm not doing it because it drives me nuts, man. But that being said, if you can avoid popping the matrix thing out, the transformation's not hard. It's really not. The big key is making sure that you push this roof section as forward as much as you can when you're fitting it into position. I'm going to say that the transformation is probably better than the other ones that we've looked at. Arguably, I mean, it's a little bit subjective, but I feel like it works a little bit better. And I'm going to say that the transformation is about a 7.5. It's not perfect. It certainly has its strengths and its weaknesses, but it's all right. Overall, I'm going to say that Ultimate Optimus Prime, though he might not quite be ultimate, he's definitely a fun version of the Autobot leader, and I'm going to say he's got an overall score of about 8. And that might not be ultimate, but you know what? It's still a pretty fantastic Prime. And here we are again, and this is an alright version of the Autobot leader. Is it ultimate? Hardly. I don't... We'll get to that in a minute. But it's an alright version of the Autobot leader. I don't think it's really going to appeal too much to collectors because it just doesn't have the necessary paint applications, even though all of the main points that you would expect for an Optimus are there. The articulation is alright. A couple of points could be improved, certainly the thighs. And the conversion is acceptable. About the only thing that's a nuisance with it is I feel like the chest piece, the gimmick piece, is just triggered far too easily, and it's more of a nuisance and an annoyance than anything else. Nevertheless, it's an alright Optimus overall. When you look at him in comparison to the more recent, like, Spark Armor release, I think this is significantly better. That's not a great Optimus. Yeah, the arc thing looks cool, but from the waist down, that thing is a brick. This guy at least has some articulation. The conversion for that thing from the waist down is... You don't even bend the legs. At least this guy, you bend them up, if nothing else. And because of that kind of like necessary part of transformation, he gets a really fantastic knee bend. So I like that. Overall, he's good. It's a good figure. It's not ultimate, but it's a good figure. And that's the thing. I feel like that more and more we need as consumers, because you know we are all interested in getting the biggest bang for our buck. I feel like us as consumers more and more we need to be leery and aware of exactly what marketing is telling us. You know, is a masterpiece truly perfect? Is an ultimate Cyberverse figure actually ultimate? Well, I guess that's up for you to decide, but by my estimation, and kind of grading him the way that I think is reasonable to grade him, I would say he is a good Optimus. He is certainly fine for that market demographic of, you know, kids that are between rescue bots and older, like adult collectors. He's a nice little go-between, and he does have an impressive stature for Optimus Prime. Anyway, let me know what you think about Ultimate Optimus Prime. Do you think he's ultimate? Maybe you do. Maybe he's right up your alley, man. You know, I'd love to hear from you guys. I appreciate you dropping by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, there's a donation link down in the description. Don't forget that somehow, some way, every day, you make a difference. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit either in the live streams, at the stop motion premieres, or right here the old fashioned way. That's right, inside the videos.